Hey, thanks for tuning in. This is day 59 in the journey through the Psalms. Can you believe it? We made it to day 59. 59 days doing this Bible study. Probably the longest Bible study series that you've ever seen. And there's 150 Psalms, so that puts us at like one third, just over one third of the way through the book of Psalms. And I believe we're starting book 2, and there's 5 books of the book of Psalms. So this one says, it's Psalm of David when Saul sent men to watch his house in order to kill him. So Saul was trying to kill David because he was more blessed by God than Saul was. So out of jealousy, King Saul was trying to kill David. Deliver me from my enemies, O God. Protect me from those who rise up against me. Deliver me from those who work evil and save me from bloodthirsty men. For behold, they lie in wait for my life. Fierce men stir up strife against me. For no transgression or sin of mine, O God, or O Lord, for no fault of mine, they run and make ready come to meet me and see. You, Lord God, the hosts, let me say that again. You, Lord God of hosts, you are God of Israel. Rose yourself to punish all the nations. Spare none of those who are treacherously plot evil. Each evening they come back, howling like dogs and prowling about the city. They are all bellowing in their mouths, with swords in their lips. For who, they think, they will hear us? For who, they think, will hear us? But you, O Lord, laugh at them. You uphold the nations in derision. O my strength, I will watch for you. For you, O God, are my fortress. My God, in his steadfast love, will meet me. God will let me look in triumph on my enemies. Kill them, lest my people forget. Make them totter by your power and bring them down, O Lord, our shield. For the sins of their mouth, the words of their lips, let them tremble in their pride. For their cursing and lies that they utter, consume them in wrath, consume them till they are no more, that they may know that the God rules over Jacob to the ends of the earth. Each evening they come back, howling like dogs and prowling about the city. They wander about for food and growl if they do not get their fill. But I will sing of your strength. I will sing aloud of your steadfast love in the morning, for you have been to me a fortress and a refuge in the day of my distress. O my strength, I will sing praises to you, for you, O God, are my fortress, the God who shows me steadfast love. David is describing those who are teaming up against Saul. Those who are teaming up against him with King Saul. He's describing them as dogs. What's up with that? Dogs in the Old Testament are unclean animals. Uh, you would not typically see a Jew with a dog or with a pig or with other types of unclean animals. I can't think of the other animals out there. The the scriptures talk about all the types of clean animals and unclean animals, but a dog wouldn't be considered an unclean animal. You wouldn't have a dog as a pet, like in a Western society. If you live in America, everyone has a dog in their backyard, but a Jew would not have a dog in their backyard. It would make them unclean. David is calling his enemies dogs. He's calling his enemies snakes. He's essentially calling them unclean. It's insulting in a way, because if you're unclean, you can't not enter the temple of the Lord. You cannot worship God. You cannot come before God. You're separated essentially from the people of God. So that's how David is calling his enemies, but he's calling on God to deliver him from his enemies, to protect them, to rise up against them. See, David knows that he can, by his own strength, if he wanted to, wipe his enemies off the earth, but he chooses not to. Instead, he chooses to call on God to defend him and to defeat his enemies for him. Remember, David was this mighty warrior. He was a top general in the army. He killed thousands upon thousands, tens thousands upon 10,000s. They used to sing songs about how David would just wipe his enemies off the earth. But when Saul sends people to go and try to kill David, David does not defend himself. Instead, he prays and he asks God to defend him for him. He says, God, defend me against those who are coming against me. You are my strength, God. You are my fortress, God. You, by your steadfast love, because this love relationship I have with you, God, come and protect me. Do you see what these evil people are doing to me? I believe in you, and I'm going to trust you that you will do what only you can do. He turns to the Lord for the Lord's protection. If you know the story and how it ends, Saul ultimately takes a sword and he kills himself with it. And then another guy comes and tells David, "Hey David, I used my sword to kill Saul." And David said, "Wait a minute, you killed who? You killed Saul?" Instead of rewarding the guy for killing Saul, David says, put him to death, because he killed God's anointed. Saul spent his years trying to wipe David off the earth, and then Saul kills himself, and then another guy tries to take the credit, and David was like, "That's evil. How can you kill the guy?" Saul respected his leaders because he knows that his leaders were put in place by God. Even in the midst of trying to be killed by these same individuals, he still respects them because he respects the God that put them in that place of leadership. We might not like Biden. We might not like Harris. We might not like half of the Democratic Party or all of the Democratic Party as Christians because of what they stand for and what they currently are doing. But we should still respect them, honor them, because of the positions that God has put them in. You might not like the mayor of your city because he's of different political affiliation, or he has different types of beliefs that you don't have, or he's doing corrupt stuff. And all those things are bad, but as Christians, we should still respect and honor those leaders and pray for them. When Moses in the Old Testament was trying to bring the people of Israel to the promised land, nobody wanted to follow him. But Joshua listened and obeyed Moses. He followed Moses' leadership. The people did not. The people did not follow Moses' leadership, but Joshua did. When Moses died and Joshua became the leader, the people followed Joshua's leadership. The difference is that people recognize that Moses and Joshua, they had two different types of leadership styles. And the people responded better to a leader that knew when he is a follower and he followed his leader. Moses did not exactly follow anyone. I mean, he couldn't even, he, God had to like force him to follow him. Like Moses was not a good example of a follower. He was a good example of leader, kinda, sorta. He had his issues, but Joshua followed Moses. Because of that, it made the people of Israel, the Hebrews, into better followers because once Joshua became that leader, they had an example from Joshua of what kind of follower to be. David David knows who's in charge. He knows God put Saul to be king. He knows the promises that God has made to him. He remembers whenever the prophet Samuel anoints him, saying, "You're going to be the next king of Israel." But even though he knew all these things to be true, he still knew Saul's still the king. And even though Saul hates him and is trying to kill him, even though he has all the power in the world to wipe Saul and all his men off the earth and make it happen himself, David turns to the Lord and he waits on God to allow God to make it happen in his own timing. It won't take you long. I don't have There's leaders I don't like in the Northwood. Leaders that I believe that they should be taken out of leadership, maybe even taken off the earth because they lead people astray. But that's not my calling, or that's not my position and my choice to make. And maybe you're in the same position. Maybe you're somewhere in some other place and you look around and you're like, all the leaders around me are worthless. I want you to know God put you right there for a reason to learn from their mistakes so that you don't be that leader making those same mistakes. And I also want you to know God put a leader right there where you're at that you need to follow. Moses had a leader in his life to follow. It was his father-in-law. I'm not even joking. His father-in-law was a pagan. He worshiped other gods, but then Moses, God gave Moses his father-in-law. His father-in-law gave him advice, and Moses took it. And a lot of what his father-in-law told him to do, I mean, Israel is still doing today. Even the United States is still doing today. A lot of the advice that his father-in-law gave him, many nations have adopted today. So even though you're looking around and you're like, man, all the leaders around me are corrupt and wicked, and I want you to be encouraged that there is someone there who is a leader in wherever you're at, who is not corrupt, who is not wicked, who is serving God faithfully, and you need to go find them. And it might not be as easy as it could be. Like Moses, the leader that he needed to follow was right there in front of him, his father-in-law, and God, obviously God. But we need to find those leaders who are not corrupt that will give us good advice, especially when you're young. So that is day 59. I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless you.